difference, one cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time, time.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Tea Time. That's right, Miss Liz is back, and I am here with the afternoon show with the incredible John Petrelli. And he is a professional fitness trainer to Hollywood A-listers, best-selling author, advocate, warrior of GBS. We're going to talk about it all this afternoon, and we're going to get his TEA as well. So we're going to spill some good tea. We don't do gossip here. We do real facts, and we do some education. So we teach educational awareness. So share this Tea Time, subscribe to the channel, get it all out there. And if you're tuning in after and watching a replay, please push hashtag replay where you're tuning in from and all that good stuff. So let's get the disclaimer going and let's get a little bit on John, and then let's get John in here and let's spill some tea. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz, myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forth dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It's significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in today's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and will see you at a later show at a later date and time. Again, all Tea Times this year in 2023 are done on Thursday, 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 7 p.m. But there are some switches, so stay tuned to the channel and the page because there are some live happenings. Like tonight, we're starting at 8 instead of 7. So stay tuned for all of that. Now, a little bit on my guest. When John reached out to me, I was absolutely honored to have him join me because he is bringing awareness, and I am huge on awareness. So John Petrelli has been a professional fitness coach for over 30 years, having worked alongside some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry, from Grammy-Award-winning recording artists to A-list Hollywood actors. Not bad when you consider an 18 John seemed bound for jail or the morgue. In 2021, John's life took an unexpected turn when he became paralyzed with Guillain-Barré Syndrome, a rare autoimmune disease that landed him in the ICU. With a lifestyle so heavily dependent on physical health and well-being, John needed to rely on his mental strength to overcome this disease. Through his experience, the book Confessions of a Hollywood Trainer was born, an instant Amazon #1 new release. John has dedicated his new lease on life to helping others find their inner strength to overcome the obstacles they are facing. And you can see all of that on Miss Liz's Facebook page. Check that out. His website is there, and I will have it on the screen during the show. So let me get John in here so I can have a sip of tea. Welcome, John.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. And once again, I want to thank you for offering a platform for these stories to be told to help people.
Well, John, I absolutely love that we have stories like yours to tell so we can bring awareness, because so many people stay in silence, right? They feel society has really silenced us up. And when you reached out to me, I was like, absolutely, this needs to be out there. And not because you're just working with some of the big guys out there, but because your story matters. I want people to know that all walks of life matter. And John, you reaching out and saying, Miss Liz, can I have my story heard? I was like, absolutely, let's do this.
That's great. Thank you so much. You're so gracious.
So, John, I want to start off how I start off all my shows. Who are you as a little guy, and who are you now?
Oh, yeah. So as a little guy, I had a lot of, I had a lot of ambition. I had a lot of joy, but I also had a lot of fear. And as I got a little bit older, I had a lot of anger. And who I am now is someone that has gone through a lot of things, learned a lot of lessons, took the tools from those lessons, and feel like I'm always learning, continually evolving. If you ask me this question next year, hopefully I'll be in a different place. And when I was younger, I was more focused on myself and what my needs were. And what I am focused on now is like, how do I help other people? And through that journey of helping other people, I've helped myself tenfold by just putting it out there and wanting to be on the other side of the table and helping people.
So, John, how did you get into fitness?
Sure. So I was a small kid. I was 4'11" in high school. So I was 4'11". My mother, who was born in Italy, towered over me the first day of high school. I was very small. And I found that other kids had matured quicker, and I was playing catch up in sports. I was playing catch up to just try to keep up physically. And I started getting into things that would help me, working out, lifting weights, doing martial arts. And that's how I got into fitness, was a desire to just kind of keep up with the status quo. And it transcended into an amazing life of learning about health and mobility and trying to help people just live a healthier, happier life. Because I feel like when we have ailments, it's so much harder to just be happy and to be present when we're dealing with pain, whether that's mental or physical. So that was kind of my driving force in getting into health and fitness, was just taking care of myself first.
So, John, are you still 4'11"?
I hope not. Maybe at the end of this podcast. So through a freak of nature, I'm 6 foot now. And when I was in high school, my sophomore year, I finally went through puberty and matured, and I grew like 8 or 9 inches in a year. And my dad was only about 5'8". My mother's 5 foot. So it's really kind of odd that I'm 6 foot, but I feel my life would be very different if I still was 4'11". So I'm not 4'11".
I
No.
just wanted to throw it out there because I was like, I'm 5 feet. There's no way that John is shorter than me.
No, thankfully not.
So, John, how did you get into working with A-listers and Grammy Award winners?
Yeah, so I think it's important to go way back before then, if you don't mind, and I'll kind of give you a
No,
little
I
bit of
don't mind at all.
my journey, right? So I had different issues as a kid, that ended up into transcending into anger, violence, fear. And the way I really got into fitness and changing my life was at 18, I got arrested for an act of violence. And I realized for me that was pretty close to my rock bottom. Unfortunately, it wasn't my absolute rock bottom, but it was the start of changing my life, changing my surroundings, changing my peer group. Not that I ever want to put blame on anybody else, because it's everything that I have to have ownership for. But at that age, I didn't have the whereabouts, the self-confidence to not go with the crowd or make the proper decision, even though internally I may have known what the proper decision was. On my external and physical, I wasn't making those choices. So after I went through the court system, and we can get into all the minutiae and details of that if you want, but I made a definitive decision to start changing my life. And one of those things was changing my environment. And for me, I had very few options where I was, and I called a friend who lived, I was in New York at that time, and who lived in California. And I said, look, I'm either going to end up dead or in jail. Um, I have a couple $100 to my name, and I'm looking for a new beginning. I'm looking for a change. Could you allow me to come and live with you in California? And that person, through his grace, changed my life. And he said, I'm living with my uncle. I don't have a room for you, but if you're willing to sleep on the floor, I'll be willing to take you in. And so I got on a plane a couple weeks later with a few $100s in a backpack, and I went to California with a dream of changing my life. And as I got on that plane, literally weight lifted off my shoulders as we hit altitude. And I got into just being a trainer first. We're going way back, Miss Liz. I'm probably much older than most of your listeners and yourself, but in 1993 was a time there was only one certification that I knew about to become a trainer, from the American Council on Exercise. And I went and took that test. And that was probably the first test I had passed in years, because I did horrible in high school, and I was diagnosed with dyslexia before it even was a thing. And I took a test, and I started becoming a trainer at 21 years old. I'm 51 years old now. And before I was ever a trainer to any celebrity or any professional athlete, I was a trainer, and still am today, to people that just want to be healthy, that may want to be able. One of my first clients was someone that just wanted to walk in her son's wedding. She was in a walker, and she wanted to be able to walk with a cane during the wedding, or someone that just has pain. So I paid some kids to pass out flyers. They did, and my phone immediately started ringing, and I didn't have answers to the questions that people were asking me, like, how much do you charge? Where do you train? I didn't even have these answers yet, but the universe, God, was guiding me in a way and changing my life that I had to be open to. And Miss Liz, I was so embarrassed even internally that I was only 21 and I had a business, that when back in the day, a lot of people probably won't remember this, we had a thing called the answering machine, and people would leave messages for training, inquiring about business. And when I returned their call, I would disguise my voice and use a deeper voice, because I didn't want them to know that I was 21.
Hello.
Yes, I can help you. How much do I charge? I don't know. But then I started training, and it took off immediately. My first client was an amazing person. I still try to keep tabs on to this day, an 18-year-old girl. And I was making a whopping $12 an hour, but I was so happy. It changed my life. And I just started training people and taking care of them and going on this journey with them. And I thought I was helping them, but in turn, them allowing me a slice of their life and allowing me into the intimate parts of their life helped heal my soul from all the things I had dealt with in the past. And it helped me tenfold over what I did for them. And it really crafted my life. And I found my vocation at 21, which was really helping fitness, health, all those things. And so there was many years of training people, 10, 15 years before I ever ran into a celebrity. And when I ended up moving from Southern California, we'll make a big leap in years. And I worked in the Hollywood area, still doing the same thing. And now geographically, I'm in an area where the movie industry is. So if you take care of people, whether they're a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, a fireman, and you do a good job and you focus on them, word gets out. And I've always been focused across the table of helping, and word started getting out, and my phone started ringing. And this time I was much older. I didn't have to disguise my voice. And it was agents were calling me for clients, or it was actors calling me, and they had heard about me. And so simply because of my geographic location, I started getting phone calls from people that needed help. And their profession was just slightly different than mine or yours. And we're all human beings. And we all need the same things. We need love. We need to be taken care of. We need to have a purpose. And so I started working in that industry, and I found many blessings. I had much awareness of what I perceived it was and what it actually was, and all those good things. So that's a long answer. You're going to find I don't have many short answers.
No, and that's okay, because I like good, long, deep conversations. And I like that you're saying this, John, because people that are listening right now, my listeners, and the ones that will share this tea time, I want them to understand that Hollywood actors and artists are people too. They have a story too. They go through struggles too. They have health issues too. Like, let's stop making them feel like they're godly, because then when they fail and they have addictions or health issues, they're scared to come out because of the stigma and the shame. So this is why I wanted to have you on, John, was because you work with these individuals. You see that they're individuals as well. And this is what we really need to start bringing to the table. I have all walks of life on Tea Time for a reason, to show that we're all individuals. We all bleed red. We all have a story. We all can make a difference when we start accepting everybody for human beings, not for titles and labels, So I really want to thank you for that, John. And I like the long answer, because long answers are better than, okay, because then I'm like, oh, what do I got to look for now?
And I love what you said. And just to bounce off of that a little bit, is we have so many cross sections as human beings that we have in common. And sometimes, whether it's the media or maybe us as individuals, we focus on what separates us. But there are so many bonds that make us so unique and also transcend and make us so in touch with each other. So it's the human element. And that is one of the main things I have found, right? We're human. We have needs. We may have a bad day. Unfortunately, in today's day in life, I have kids, and this has been this way for celebrity for a long time. Is, you know, the reason I say I have kids is because the kids growing up today, everything's recorded. Everything's on social media. You can't make a mistake. God forbid you screw up, right? It's all there in infinity for everyone to see. And celebrity has dealt with that for a long time too. You have a bad day and now you're labeled as X, Y, or Z because something's captured. And Lord knows, if you go back to my past, there are so many moments that you can take out of context or isolate and go, this guy is a moron. This guy is a doofus. This guy's a bad individual. We all should have the breadth and levity to have a mistake and to make up for it, because one moment doesn't define your life.
Well, and like you said, John, everything's recorded.
Mhm.
I'm almost 50. I'm not there yet. I got 7 months. I'm still in the 49 zone.
Right. Beautiful.
But I mean, back in the day, we could do the stupid stuff. It wasn't recorded.
Yeah.
We can talk about it and people are like, I don't see it. I don't believe it. Where today, everything is recorded. Every movement is recorded. How you get out of bed, how you eat, how you dress. There's just so much recording, and they're using that 20 years later against us.
Yeah. We're all under a microscope. And boy, I literally feel my generation, our generation, I'm a little older than you, but our generation didn't have to deal with that. And now kids have such pressure, right? And because everything's recorded, we can record stuff that maybe isn't also true. And now children see this adolescence and go, man, that person's life is so amazing. Why don't I live like that? But they don't know what the reality is, right? They don't know the reality. And there's so many more obstacles they have to deal with in navigating this world now.
Right. And it's the sacrifices. People
Mhm.
have these titles, but they sacrificed a lot. And if you ask any of the big names, any of the people that are in the limelight, what do they regret? And it'll be family time. It'll be connection, because they sacrifice all that time to make a movie, to make a song, to produce, it's taking time away from the life, and you can't go back. As much as we all want to go back and change things, we can't,
No. And always working to find that balance, right? We're trying to find that balance where we can have family time, we can have a life, we can do our vocation, our profession, we can help people. I'm always working towards balance. And it is this elusive thing that, through education for me, I'm always trying to get better to find that balance and help people get it.
So, John, when you got sick in 2021, how much did it affect your life?
Wow. So yeah, in 2021, let me give you some context of what happened and I can explain how much it affected my life. My family, my kids got COVID and I teach jujitsu to kids and I was teaching jujitsu. So I had a lot of exposure and the COVID my kids had was a blip on the radar screen. They're 9 and 12. It was like sniffles. It was nothing to them. My wife also got it and it was very mild. And then I got it, I acquired it, and I had to quarantine for, I think it was 10 days at the time. Well, when we talk about finding balance, one of the things I've found in my life is working towards that balance. I can be overactive. I can be this type A that needs to pull back. So here I am quarantined, and now I'm exercising for an hour and a half. I'm doing house projects that don't need to be done. I'm like in the house like a caged animal doing stuff, and I kind of ran myself down. I got really much sicker than I should have with it. And after COVID, I went back to work, I tested negative, and my feet started going numb. And the reason I bring up COVID is because they're not sure where I got Guillain-Barré Syndrome, GBS. It could be from COVID, it could be from a vaccine, and it could be from a bacterial infection. Well, I had a bacterial infection from jujitsu where somebody's toenail cut my shin just small, and I got a bacterial infection. So it could be from that. So we don't know where it came from, but my feet started going numb and I didn't say anything. Maybe Miss Liz, guys wrongfully don't express our emotions. We try to tough it out. And I was just like, you know what, it'll go away. But after a week, it didn't go away. And my hands started going numb where I couldn't feel my fingers. And I didn't say anything. And I kept going to work and doing my business. And then I woke up one morning and my vision was super blurry and I had no more urinary stream. Like I had to pee, but I couldn't go. And so I told my wife that morning and I said, look it, honey, my wife's name's Cheyenne. I said, Cheyenne, after I get back from work today, maybe we should go to see a physician because I have all these things going on. And God bless her. She is the yin to my yang. And she said, you know what? You're not going to work today. We're going to go to urgent care and get you checked out. So we go to urgent care. And as time is passing, which I'm rapidly getting weaker, the way I describe it is I was like a battery that was just getting drained. It's getting tougher for me to walk, tough for me to squeeze someone's hand to shake their hand. We go to urgent care and they start giving me tests and I end up fainting and going unconscious, which is very unlikely for me. It's not something that happens. And they give me a few preliminary tests and the doctor tells me, he goes, look, I don't want to scare you, but I think you could have an autoimmune disorder, either multiple sclerosis or GBS. We don't have the ability to test it for here at our facility, but I want you to go down the street to the major hospital. We're going to call the emergency room and we're going to have you admitted there. And they're going to give you a spinal tap. They're going to drain fluid from your spine. And there's a protein in there that will test either positive or negative for what we think you may have. So literally a mile down the street, by the time my wife helps me in the car, we get there, I'm getting super weak. It's hard for me to just have my normal gait and walking. They bring me in right away into the emergency room and they get me down on a table and they give me a spinal tap. They draw the fluid from there. And the doctor says, look, it's going to be about an hour before these tests come back. And I live very close to the hospital, Miss Liz. So they said, you can go home if you want, or you can stay here, whatever you feel most comfortable with. But if what your numbness is feeling, if you have GBS and this numbness starts ascending up your body, you need to come back immediately because if it gets to your heart and lungs, it's going to shut them off. Just like you can't feel your feet or your hands. If you have what we think you have, you will no longer be able to use your heart and lungs and it'll be over. So I go home, I take a nap for 20 minutes, and I wake up and I can no longer feel from my hips to my feet. In 20 minutes, I lost all feeling there. My wife gets me back in the car. I can hardly walk. They bring me back. The test comes back, and I'm positive for Guillain-Barré Syndrome, GBS, which I had never heard of. I had no idea what it was. So you start getting all these things running through your head. They put me in a wheelchair and they wheel me up. They take me in an elevator to I think it was the third or fourth floor, and they bring me to the ICU. Now, when I go to the ICU, it gets to be a little scary, right? There are people in different states of distress. I see people, car accidents, whatever they're dealing with. And I am known for 30 years of being a guy that's about my physicality. Defines my job, my profession, my vocation. But I made a mental, because I believe the mind is stronger than the body. The mind directs the body. And I made a conscious decision that I said, I don't know what I have. I don't know this thing they call GBS, but I am never going to complain. Not once. I'm not going to allow myself to complain. I am going to find a way out of here. And I am going to find something positive to come out of this, because I didn't want to go, woe is me. I didn't want to go, why is this happening to me? So they wheel me into I have an isolated room in the ICU, and I decided to do 3 things right away. As I'm losing strength, they put me in the bed, and now I'm having trouble lifting up my head. I'm having trouble even moving my fingers. I decided 3 things. And Miss Liz, I don't want to take away at all from Western medicine. I loved my doctors, my nurses, everybody that helped me. I know they helped me. But I believe also that the mind has great healing powers and things that we may not tap into. So I made a decision that I wanted to fill my room with positive vibrations. And for me, one of my former clients for 20 years, 15 years is Ziggy Marley, Bob Marley's son. And I love his music. So I started playing 24/7 Bob Marley, Ziggy Marley vibrations of music that inspire me and that were going to keep me in a positive place. I didn't want anything to penetrate my mentality that was going to be negative. My wife immediately, so smart, I lost my ability to swallow, and I had to have pureed foods. And she saw the food that they were serving, which is a whole nother thing I want to tackle, which is chicken fingers and French fries. And I go, how am I going to heal on a cellular level when I'm going to be eating stuff that was underneath a heat lamp for the last 3 days that has no nutrients? So she went home and she made organic pureed foods for me. So on a cellular level now, I was getting nourished. On an audio level, I was getting nourishment from the music and the vibrations. And then on a mental level, I prayed, I gave gratitude, and I started envisioning my body healing itself. Now, we're talking over the course of 10 days, right? So this had to be continuous. And there were high moments and there were low moments. There were moments when I could only move my eyeballs when the neurologist came in and I couldn't even turn my head to greet them. And there were moments where I soiled myself in bed and I felt the lowest moments in my life. But through these elements of nourishment from music, from nourishment from food, and from my mental state of gratitude and prayer, I was able to navigate out of there, stay positive. That's a long story I just told you there.
No, but I love how you took us on that journey, John, because, it was a process for you as well,
Yes.
and I'm listening to you because I've been diagnosed with conversion disorder because my body does shut down and stuff like that. So as you're sharing, I'm like, these things are all playing in my head. Like, like what age is GBS found in men and women? Is there an age group? Like you said, they don't know if it's from vaccines. They don't know if it's from bacteria. We don't know.
Right.
So right now we're giving the information out to the viewers and listeners from what you experience, what your story is, right? But that it could be different for somebody else. But as you're sharing this, John, I'm like, oh my goodness, like it's almost like a mirror is looking right at me and saying, like, because I had lost my feeling from my hips down. When I was 31, I was working at a gas station, and I had just got out of my marriage, and my body shut down, and they checked me for MS and all that. So as you're saying these things, I'm like, whoa, like I just met you, John. Like, and I'm like, like, does the GBS, is it found in men and
Oh,
women? Is
yeah,
it
it's
like,
found in, I did a good amount of research after, right, as this all was progressing, and I went through this and continuing to research. So it's found in men and women. It's found in all different ages. It is, they don't know exactly why it happens. Uh, Gladly, a lot of times people depending on their condition going in can recover from it. They weren't sure, if I would recover or not recover, but they said there is, likelihood that you can. So as I laid in that bed for 10 days, so many things went through, my mind, my body. There was a time where I coded out. They brought me for a CAT scan that was an hour and 45 minutes long, and I had no energy left in my body. They were administering the Western medicine of a thing called IVIG. It's immunoglobulin from other people's blood to help shut down my own system, because my system was attacking my nerve endings, the myelin on the nerves. My white blood cells were attacking that, thinking there was a foreign entity. And when you take away the myelin or your nerves, you lose all the electrical charges. And it doesn't matter how much muscle you have. It doesn't matter all the fitness you have, because if you don't have the nerve endings, you can't run the computer.
Yeah.
So there was a time in there where they were giving me tests because I had extreme chest pain, and it is one of the potential side effects of the medicine they gave me, but they thought I might be having a cardiac arrest. So they put me in an MRI. They did a cardiogram, then they put me in an MRI, and I coded out. They wheelchaired me there, and I went unconscious. I couldn't stand up. They tried to stand me up, and my wife heard this because she was in the room with me. She knew it was me. So there was a lot of trying times. There was a lot of opportunity for me to go, woe is me. Why is this happening to me? And feel sorry for myself. But I stuck to what my through line was. I stuck to the fact that I wanted to help other people. I didn't know what it would be or how it would be, whether it would just be my story, what it would be for information or relatability. But I stuck to my through line of, I'm going to make something positive happen out of this. I know eventually I am going to walk again. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know how much work I'm going to put in. I know I can't rub my fingers together right now, but I am going to focus on the smallest positive thing I can. And once I get to that thing, and for me at some points, it was just putting my fingers together. Once I get there, then I'll get to the next thing. I tried not to look at the big picture. I tried to look at the small minutia details and go, I'm going to get here, then I'm going to get here. It was a low point when you can't get up to go to the bathroom and you can't reach to grab the nurse's aid button to let them know. And here I am, a grown man, basically soiling myself in the bed. There's a lot of stuff that we go through, and I know people go through worse. But one thing that did happen, and if at the end of our conversation, I want to get one message out to people, it's this, that I've been arrested. I went to jail as a youth. I got out of that. I had a life of fear and violence. I have been diagnosed with dyslexia. If I can do the things I've done with the limitations I have, imagine what you can do. You can do so much more. Whatever you want to achieve in this life, you can do it. I listened to an audiobook in the hospital when I was there. And I got an inspiration to go, why not tell this story? I don't know exactly what this story is going to be. I've never written a book. I am so bad at typing that when I type, spell check goes, we have no clue what you're trying to type here, buddy. We don't know what you're trying to do. And so I got an inspiration to go, why not write a book of my life about this, a memoir? And so through the process of me being down for 3 months after I got out of hospital, relearning how to walk, relearning how to move my body, graduating from a walker to or a wheelchair, I should say, to a walker to a cane, I got inspired and I started jotting stuff down when my fingers would move, and I had my wife write things down, and I had compiled things in the past just when I was on tour with someone and writing on a plane. and I put together a book that would have never happened if I didn't have this happen for me. And it became a number one new release. And people that have GBS read it and called me, and or their grandmother had GBS and are like, can you please give her some advice? We're so lost in this, and so many blessings have happened from it because this thing that is an autoimmune disorder happened for me, and I was able to make something positive come out of it. And once again, Miss Liz, if I can do that, which is a freak of nature, I have a better chance of winning the lotto than me typing a book. You can do anything. I want people to understand whatever your dream is. If you're willing to work, surround yourself with positive people, get inspiration, and do it day after day, you can do anything.
I love that message, because that's exactly where we went this morning with the power within with the twins. You know, it's within you. Believe in yourself and you can do anything. You know, it doesn't matter where you come from. You don't need to stay there. You can move on. And John, I really want to thank you for sharing that inspiration, because we need that out there. We need the positive. There's enough negative in the world. Let's get the positive. You took the positive even when you were in the bed for 10 days. You took the music, you took the good food, you took, you did the positive stuff. Instead of saying, you know what, yeah, just give me the chicken fingers. you know? And I don't know about anybody, but chicken fingers in a hospital are just not good.
Yeah. And here's the thing I want people to also understand. We go as human beings. No one lives in this glass palace. We go through trials. We go through tribulations. You had a thing happen where you couldn't feel your lower body, right? We all go through these trials. But I have come to realize now that the toughest times in my life, in my youth, where I was living on floors, where I had $5 to my name and I was looking for a next can of tuna fish to eat, prepared me for the moment that I was paralyzed. Because if I had not gone through those trials, I would not have had the fabric of who I was to have the mentality to go, I am going to make it through here. I have seen tough things before. I don't know what this is, but I know that God has prepared me for this. My life has prepared me for this. The people around me have prepared me for this. So bring on what is going to happen, and I'm going to find something positive out of this. And if I lived a life that was perfect without mistakes, none of that would have happened. So I took the tools from all the trials and failures before to make this a success now.
And I think our stories have to happen this way in order for us to help others. And we have to share the hard stories. We have to share the traumas and the scars and our bleeding, the openness, the rawness, in order to help someone else that's struggling. Like you said, that grandmother was struggling. She was at the end ropes. Had you not written that book, maybe she would not still be here. These are the reasons why we write books. These are the reasons why we share our stories. These are the reasons why that back there says sharing is healing. We need to start sharing our stories, start owning them, start taking accountability. John, you're sitting here, you worked with A-listers and Grammy Award winners, and you said, I went to jail, I was arrested. And I bet you there's some listeners right now that are saying, oh my God, how did he do it? You know what? Because he pushed through it. That's how he did it, guys.
You're
he
so
didn't
right.
let that arrest hold you back, John. You were like, you know what? I want to change my life. So I'm going to change my environment. I'm going to change my mindset. Everyone's always misled, change your mindset. My mindset is fine. I've been through a lot of shit. That's why my mind goes up and down, and Miss Liz is really raw. And I love when I have transparency on my show. And I love when I have guests like you, John, who share the bad, the good, the ugly. It makes us who we are.
It does. And Miss Liz, I don't want anybody out there to think that this happened overnight, because I had shame for many years and never told any of these things. And I believe it prevented me from being my authentic self, because I had this hidden inside and shame around it. And so when I started releasing the shame and becoming vulnerable to expose these things of errors I made in my life, they became more of who I am. They made me stronger, and they made it relatable to other people. I got a letter a couple weeks ago from someone in Virginia that is in a maximum security prison, medium security prison, federal prison, that read my book and wrote me a letter. And I said this, I would rather have that letter from that person than a letter from the president of the United States or my governor or something, because it means so much. And he read the book and goes, you know what? I've taken inspiration, and now I'm getting out in 3 years and I'm putting together a plan of what I want to do when I get out. And I never thought about having a plan. I was just going day by day and passing the days by until I get out of here. And he goes, I know now that I'm going to create a plan and I'm never coming back. And I got that from just the inspiration of you telling your story. So I had to relinquish the shame that I carried for so many years and share, because that sharing, as your sign says, was healing. And we need to heal each other. There is power in the healing of a group. There is power in sharing, and there is power in going on the other side of the table and going, look, I can relate. I understand. Be kind to yourself. Be patient. Work towards it. It'll happen.
Well, in your book, you're saying confessions.
Yeah.
You're opening the shame up. Why are we so full of shame and guilt when a lot of things might have not even had our control over? Things might have happened to us. We might have been in a situation where at that moment, that's what we had to do. That's where our mind was, like when you got arrested, John, maybe that was just because you were doing bad choices, and you needed to
not maybe
wake up,
I was making bad choices. I needed that. You're 100% right.
Right? It's
Yes.
like things happen to us for a reason, and we meet certain people, just like I'm sitting here now, and I know for a fact that my guests come to me for a reason. I know that it's the universe saying, Miss Liz, you need this person in your life. This person has something that's going to help you heal as well. Because I get so much, like you said in the middle of the show, John, I got so much from the people I worked with. They taught me as well. And I love the fact that you said that you stay and you keep tabs with the people that you work with, because we need to keep connected. We need to keep that connection going. We can't just say, hi, yeah, come on my show for an hour, goodbye, get lost. We have to, how are you doing? Do you have a new book? Do you have a new program? Are you training somebody new? Keep that communication going.
Yeah. And just to say hello, how are you? Do you need anything? And a lot of times people are just, hey, I'm fine. Good to hear from you. But just to give that hand, right? Because even though we are connected digitally, I feel like we've never been more disconnected humanly, right? Everything is a text or whatever. We're not even getting on the phone and talking. And that human connection is so important.
Yeah. Well, even when you call someone on the phone, the voice, you get aggravated now. It's like, well, you're like, okay, let me text it to you then. And then it's like, well, I didn't understand that either. Oh, okay. Well, where do we go with this one now? It just seems like there's so much heaviness in the world. There's so much negative. We got to take it and change it. And we got to make the positive. And that's what I want to do with the T's, is I want to make the world positive. I want to make a difference with T. So, John, I want to get into your T. If I give you the letters TEA, what words would you give me?
Yeah, I love what you have for teaching. And I love that, because I am a teacher, but I'm also a learner. And I want to add learning to that with it, because I never want to stop learning. I'm learning from you right now, just listening to you. And so teaching, we're all teachers. That's what it means to me. You can learn from the most innocent child. You can learn some amazing things, whether that's truth or just honesty, or to be yourself, your authentic self. So I love what you have with that. I think you're on point with that.
So what are you going to give me for the letter E?
E. I like, you're going to think I'm going down your path here, but
and I told you before the show, you're allowed to.
Yep,
because
you did.
It's a different T.
Can I do two things? I love education and I love the word earning, but maybe not in the sense of earning, like earning money, but we earn the right. Like I earned the right to fight GBS and go through that. I've earned the right to do different things through my life experiences. Experience is another beautiful E. Like we have these experiences. They allow us to share. We should never keep them bottled up in shame. And our experiences are experiences. And what we do is we label some of them good or bad, but they're just experiences. And the worst experience today may be the best experience tomorrow when you use the tools you've learned from that experience.
I love it. And I already know what your A is.
You think? It's action. For me, it's
Oh,
action. What did you think it was going to be?
I was gonna go with authenticity, but I like it. I like action.
So I feel like now when you have teaching, when you have education, when you have learning, when you have experiences, now we have to take some action and do something with it, because it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have bottled up inside you. If you selfishly keep it to yourself, you got to have action. You got to have action, whether you want to just get out and walk and get in better health. If you want to say, I love you to someone, it takes a little action. If you want to say, I'm sorry. So I love action.
I love that you did that, because you're a fitness trainer,
Yes.
and you gotta have action to move.
You do, baby. Yes.
I would have never seen action coming. Like, that was a nice smooth tea that just slid in there.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad.
But that's what I mean. Like, we can have the same words, but we serve them differently when we serve our own unique stories. You know, my story's mine, your story's yours. But when we join the stories together, we have a beautiful cup of tea. You know what I mean? We have flow. Things just flow gently and beautiful. You know, connections are made, partnerships are made, relationships are made, collaborations are made. These are all incredible things. Had you not gotten GBS, you would not have been able to write that book.
That's right.
You know, and that's how we have to look at things. Sometimes hard things come our way for a reason, because the universe knows what it needs to do. You know, and we just got to have the faith to believe in it. And I love that you use music, and that your wife brought in your because I wanted to talk to you about diet, because we don't talk about healthy mind, healthy food, right? A lot of people are like, oh, well, it's just a diet. Well, you know what? There are reasons for diets. There's a reason for a different way of thinking with the food as well, you know?
Yeah. And I don't even use the word diet, because I feel like the word diet is temporary. Like, I went on the cabbage soup diet, or I do this diet or that diet. I just like to find nutrition that works for the individual to energize them in what their needs are. So if you want to be in your garden all day planting flowers, you need energy for that. So let's nourish your body with nutrition that's going to get you there, because we have to eat for the rest of our lives, unless somebody has something I'm not aware of where they can magically just get energy from not eating. So let's just nourish our body with proper nutrition that'll be functional for what your needs are, right? Your needs are going to be different than an NFL player's or my 9-year-old or 12-year-old son. So just nourish your body with nutrition and find what works for you. It's such a bio-individual thing. But I know we can have all these dreams, these passions, these desires, but they can lie flat if we don't have the energy or the health to be the vehicle to transport us to where we need to go to help people.
Yeah. And I'm like you, John. I don't like the word diet, because it's got die and it. So it tells you right away it's not good for you, right? It's ready to take you out.
Yeah.
You know, and I always throw some jokes in when you know, but every time the doctor would say you need to go on a diet, I was like, I don't need to diet.
Yeah, that's right. I like
know?
it. I never thought about it in that context. It's been sitting there right in front of me all these years. That's funny.
There you go. You can use it.
I will. I'll give you a nickel every time.
I wanted to have you on, John, not just so that we could just throw a bunch of information out there, but I wanted to have the personal story out there so that we could share, you know, the positive of it, because you still are able to have relapses, correct? From the
Sure,
GBS?
I am. And, I got out of the hospital and I went to physical therapy 7 days a week. I did 5 with a physical therapist and I did 2 on my own. And at some points, it was just moving my fingers. At some points, it was trying to go from my walker to the couch. And there were days I didn't make it. I fell down, but I got back up. So I continued to rehab for 3 months. And now there are things maybe I permanently have. I don't know, but there's some nerve damage in my feet where I can't feel my feet all the way. My memory's not as great as it used to be, but I'm not going to complain. I'm back to 90% health, 95% health. I feel energy. Sometimes I can't shut up, Miss Liz. I just keep talking. But I just am passionate about helping people and getting the word out there. So it could be a relapse. I don't think about it. I don't worry about it. I just try to stay in tune with where I am right now and in the future. What am I going to work on? Who am I going to help? Where am I presently? And I'm not worried about the past. I feel like no matter what comes my way, I'll be able to deal with it.
So, John, I want to get into a couple questions that I asked you before the interview even started, because I talked to my guests months before their interviews. I asked you to give me one word to describe yourself, and you gave me the word resilient. Why did you give me that word?
Because I've had to be resilient through my life. I had to be resilient to get through my childhood, through my teen years, all the things. There's a lot of stories. Man, I've almost died several times. I almost died in the Alaskan waters. I fell out of a boat. It's in my book, in freezing waters by myself in Alaska. And I had to be resilient to get out of there. I had a gun. I had to look down the barrel of a gun before. It's in my book, and I had to be resilient. I had to give CPR to an individual that had a heart attack, and there was only 2 of us there. And I was blessed and lucky enough to resuscitate that person after a long CPR. So my life, I've had to be resilient. And more than anything, forget about me. I want people to know that they can be resilient, and they are built to be resilient, and they can handle anything that comes in front of them through resiliency. So I feel like it's a word that defines me. And I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not by any means, I'm not blessed with all these different talents, but I feel through consistency and resiliency and hard work that we can accomplish anything. And so I love that word resilient.
I love that word. I just love it for anybody that gives me the word resilient, because it shows that you had to keep pushing. You had to find a way, and it had to come from within. You know, there was nobody else that could do it for you. You had to take those steps yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I also asked you your favorite color, and I've never had this one before. So this one is a little, I'm just like, because I usually wear the colors that these guests give me, and I'm just like, oh, now I got to go and get some of this. So, John, what color did you give me?
This is a while back, but I know my favorite color is camouflage.
I don't have any camouflage, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I usually play this trick on people that sometimes if I teach a group of people and we're doing an exercise and it's right at the end and it might be challenging, I'll give them an opportunity to get out a little early. I go, if anybody can guess my favorite color, you can get out early. We get blue, red, whatever. And I'm like, no, it's camouflage, baby.
I love it because it's different. It's unique. And I'm like looking through all of I was like, guys, I got to go buy a camouflage scarf or a shirt or something. I was like, seriously, I don't have that, because I like to represent my guests with their favorite colors. That's why I asked that. It's not on the posters. It's not on the flyers. It used to be in season 1, but then Miss Liz was like, how can I change it up? So I've been wearing the favorite colors of all of the guests, and when we do the reunion show, there's a lot of questions, and you have chances of winning a couple of things when you pay attention, and we need to pay attention to our lives. So, John, what message do you have for anyone out there that's listening? And I want to know how they can get your book.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's a message. I have a couple messages. Number one is I am passionate about helping our caregivers. I'm passionate about helping our doctors, our nurses, our teachers, our firemen. When you maybe, in my past, I had been annoyed that there was a fire truck stopping traffic and I had to pull over, not realizing that that is going to be someone's life or death moment or whatever. I have such an affinity for our caregivers that here's a message. I want to, and we're going to give ways to get a hold of me. I donate a certain amount of my time every year, and I want to specifically put it out for our veterans, our teachers, or anything. Get in touch with me. If you have a question, if there's something I can help you with, if I can come out and create a program for you, I want to do that for free. I want to donate my time and help you with that. So that's a separate message. But number two message, and maybe more importantly, I want people to be kind to themselves. I want them to be as kind to themselves as they would be to other people. I'm not saying that you don't hold yourself to a high standard. I'm not saying that you don't work your butt off every day to get what you want to get, but be kind to yourself in the process. Lose the shame of whatever you may have connected to shame, and know that you are where you are because you're supposed to be there at that moment. And sometimes we want to achieve something so bad, but we don't realize that one door may have to close for another to open. We want things when we want them. I am guilty of that. But if I didn't get GBS and my life slowed down, if I wasn't laid up for 3 months and had to deal with being in a wheelchair, I wouldn't be here with you. And I belong here with you right now, Miss Liz. Whoever's listening to this should be listening to this. So be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. And you can do whatever you want. There's always hope. There's always time. You're not too old. You're not too whatever label you put on yourself, and you can do it.
So, John, how can people get your book?
Sure. They can go to Amazon, Confessions of a Hollywood Trainer. It's on ebook, regular book, and audiobook. The audiobook has about 3 hours extra content. If you think you're tired of hearing my voice right now, wait till you hear that. And it's a very unique book. And then they can go to my website, confessionsofahollywoodtrainer.com, johnpetrelli.com. I'm a bit of a dinosaur when it comes to technology, but I promise you, if you email me, you send me a message on social media, I will get back to you and I will personally respond to whatever you put out there. It just may take me a minute.
Well, I think we need a couple dinosaurs. I'm the old school girl too. Everybody's like, Miss Liz, where's your calendar? It's paper and pen.
That's right. You're not that old school.
Email. Let's have that conversation. I'm not like, here, just book it and then no, you got to talk to me.
Yeah, baby. And I don't know, if you guys are new to her show as I am, and now I'll be a regular listener and follower, her intro music and the way she cuts up everything in the beginning. That's I do not have those skills to do that. That's amazing. It looks awesome.
Well, the intro, like I was telling you, John, is a former Teatime guest that also a good friend of mine, Shadow God. If anybody would like any little hits or any kind of stuff like that, he does all of that stuff. So you can hit him over there. If you're looking to do an intro for your podcast, you can hit him up over there, or you can hit me and I'll hit him. Like
a lot of hitting going on here. Stop the violence.
But we used to do a show called The Truth Hurts together. So, and we were really real and raw. So it was a little bit like Teatime, but it was more deeper. It was, we got into the heavy stuff.
Gotcha.
So, sometimes you just got to get real and raw. You got to rip the bag open and just get the truth out there, right? And it hurts. The truth does hurt. So, John, I really want to thank you for joining me on Teatime today and getting your message out there, getting your story out there. We have a couple comments in here that says empowering, inspiring. John, thank you for the information. What do we have here? Oh, we have a question for you, John.
Go ahead.
Okay, sometimes we get some guests that are different so they bilingual.
While you're retrieving that, can I give your listeners 4 things that I think will change their life? I have 4 keys. Do we have time for that?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So
I'm going to try and translate this because I think they're French. So.
Okay. Number 1 is I wake up every morning and I think that you have to do something for your mental health. We don't work out one time and get in shape. We don't do 10 push-ups and get in shape. So every morning I'm very mindful and I do my gratitudes and I do my mental health before I give to other people. My day is spent giving to other people. If you're a mom, if you're a dad, if you're a teacher, if you're a human being, you're going to give to other people. So you got to make sure you fill your cup up first every morning before you do that. So I do that, and I do a thing called Wim Hof breathing. It's free on YouTube, and it takes me 11 to 12 minutes, and I set my intentions. Number 2 I do something physical. That could be playing basketball, swimming, martial arts, walking, whatever it is. But I feel like as human beings, we need to move And the more movement you have, the better you feel. You start lubricating your joints, and feeling good is such an important part of being who you are. Number 3 is surround yourself with people that are going to lift you up, that you can collaborate with, that are not always going to agree with you, because you got to be open to another conversation and another point of view. And you got to be open to people going, you know what? Try it this way, or maybe I disagree with you. Okay. Because that's how we learn things. So I'm always open into hearing another perspective. And I love people keeping me in check and going, you can do better, or you got to look at it this way, or you got to have more compassion. And my 4th tip is, on top of that, is you got to have a plan and you got to have action, right? If you want to go after whatever it is, you want to study to be an accountant or a lawyer, you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan in life. So create a little plan. It doesn't have to be super detailed, and then you got to take some action. And I think if people do these 4 things as a society, we'll have just better mental health, which will lead to better physical health, and we'll have happier people. And when we have happier people, we can work together as human beings.
Absolutely. Thank you for those 4 keys. I'm going to have to listen back and get the 4 keys. It was more of a comment than it was a question the person was asking.
Were they
And
cursing at me in another language?
Yeah, they just wanted to say thank you for the tips on music and food.
Love it. My pleasure.
That's all they wanted to really say, was just a thank you. So I want to thank you, John, for an amazing tea time together. Stay connected. Don't leave and all that good stuff, because we're not done yet. And I want to let everybody know to come back tonight at 8 p.m., not 7 p.m., because we have Christine Cross who's coming in, and we're going to talk some Teddy adventures. Her little kitty cat. That's right. He lost his ears, but he's got adventures, and he loves spaghetti and all of that good stuff. So we'll be back here at 8 p.m. for the evening tea time with Miss Liz. Until then, everybody keep serving your teas, and let's make a difference with one cup of tea at a time.
Thank you, Miss Liz.